Alright, so let's continue our list. I'm going to collapse these guys so we can just kind of free up some space. You can see what we have so far. So we're defining everything in our CPP file, right? Let's keep it one space apart. So let's go back to our unsorted list and let's think of some other things we might need. We will need a way to insert an item, and so let's go ahead and copy this guy because we're not returning anything, we're just inserting. So let's do insert item, and we also want to, let's copy this guy. If we're inserting an item, we probably want to find an item and delete it. Okay, so let's hash these two guys out. So insert item, delete item. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to copy both of these guys, and then in my unsorted list, let's go ahead and give ourselves some space and let's paste it. What I'm going to do is grab this, paste it here, grab this, paste it here. Let's get rid of these two semicolons. So how the heck do you insert an item? Well, first we need to pass something in here, and we have this float item here, so let's go ahead and copy that. And let's go back into our header file and make sure that we are doing the same for both insert and delete. Okay, I'm going to save that. And so I've got insorted here. Let's go ahead and drop this in here so we can get rid of that ugly error. Let's go ahead and do our open closing curly brace. So let's see. Well, think about this for a second. Where are we accessing our items? Well, remember back in our header file, we have an array here called data, and it's currently holding 50 items, right? We define that variable up here, and I'm sort of doing a refresher for you guys because I know if you haven't watched this in a little bit, you might be forgetting. So let's go ahead and say, okay, well, what I want is I want to go to data length, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push in the item because I'm inserting the item. And then, so you're like, okay, well, how do we know? So if I apply this at 45, how do we know, how are we incrementing or decrementing our length so that we're going to the next index, right? Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is take your length, so say we're currently at 3, and go to the next slot, which is 4. So that's pretty cool. So now we've got our unsorted list. We've inserted an item. That's all you have to do. We're not returning anything. So let's take a look at deleting an item. Well, we are comfortable at this point with for loops, right? So let's go ahead and create a for loop. And let's do a standard for loop where we start at 0, right? And we want to check, is our for loop less than the current length? Okay. And then if it is, we want to increment it till we get to whatever our length is. Now, what do we do next? Well, we want to delete an item. So right now we're sorting through our entire length of our elements. So what we want to do is maybe use an if statement to check if we found that item. So if, remember, data is the array that we're storing it in, whatever item that we're indexing at, right? So 0, 1, it's like cycling through at this point. This is pretty easy, is the same as whatever item we're passing in, we want to do something. Well, we want to delete that item. So let's say, okay, well, how am I going to delete it? Well, if we found that item at that element I, so that means we're currently at that position, if that item is equal to whatever the current length is minus 1, because remember we're looking at 50 and we start at 0, so let's go ahead and do this. So if our item is the same as item, right, we're going to assign this item, we're going to make data I equal to the last element. So say the item was found at 50. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, the way that we're deleting it is we're just going to simply shift back and set it to 49. And so once this is set to 49, all we have to do is decrement length by 1. So it's like we have a little bit of an error there. our semicolon? Oh, but we don't have a semicolon here. I forgot that. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. So really, like, I like to just write this out on paper, and I say, okay, and we can do that together. Let me open up Photoshop. And I'll cut this video short after this. So let's say data I is currently holding, so we're right here, 34. An item that we're looking for is equal to 34. So what happens is, if data I is the same as 34, so it is, right? What we're going to say is data I, which is 34, right, is the same as whatever the length is minus 1. So let's try to figure this out. Okay, so what is the understanding of this? Say 34 is at index 50, right? This is the index that it's at. And the number that we're currently holding in our array is 34, right? So what this is saying is, say 33, right, is stored in 49. So what we're saying is, we're not deleting anything yet. All we're saying is now what we're going to store in data I. So let's go to the next line. So data I, and I'll just write 34 here. What we're going to do is we're going to set 33, this is equal to 33. We're going to set this to 33, which is, we'll just write 34 here, or 33 so you can see that. We're going to set 33 here. So that's what's happening here. But we still have 50 slots. So what length minus minus does is it says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1, right, from length, which takes me, and length is currently holding 50, and I'm going to make that 49. So we've went one element, we've moved one item, which is 33, this is currently holding 33, and we placed it back one element in our array, and then we took our entire array and we took it from 50 indexes, we made it 49.